Hey everyone, it's Jason Dunn here from Laptop Thoughts, Digital Home Thoughts, Apple Thoughts, a whole lot of thoughts. This is a very interesting accessory that can be used with a wide variety of devices, and so that's why I'm essentially reviewing it for all the different websites that I represent. So this is the Tekkeon MyPower All Plus, also known as the MP3750 R2. So this is the second generation of this particular product, and what it is it is a portable battery, but it's a portable battery that has a couple interesting features, and it can also be used with a bunch of different kinds of devices. Now, the biggest feature that makes it sort of usable with different devices is right here on the connector ports. So this is the DC out port, and this is what you connect a laptop to. And as you can see here, I have my Dell Vostro V13 here, so you can connect the laptop to this to power it. But you also have a USB port out, and it kicks out enough wattage to charge an iPad. If I'm reading the spec sheets correctly, I think it kicks out a maximum of 4 volts over this USB port here. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I might be getting that a little bit wrong, but it definitely kicks out enough wattage, voltage rather, to charge an iPad that's turned on, which is great because a lot of USB chargers cannot do that. So let me just talk a little bit about what sort of you have here. Down below, this is actually the on and off switch for USB. So when I flip it over to on, the little blue light pops on here, and that means that if I were to connect the USB cable here, and if I were to connect my iPad 2 to the other end, it would actually start charging the iPad 2. So in that way, it functions almost like a passive, USB charger. Now, that's how the USB port works. The other part of this is the part that charges your laptop, and so in order to do that, charging a laptop can sometimes be a little bit tricky, mostly because of all the adapters that are required. And the I've opened this previously, so this is not an unboxing, it's a full-on review, but that's why it's a little bit messy. Basically, they give you, Tekkeon gives you a bunch of different input adapter tips, and then they give you some different ways of connecting those tips in terms of connecting this thing to your laptop power supply, or rather the AC charger. They also give you a little retractable USB cable that comes with a mini USB tip here. I don't think it comes with a micro USB tip. I'm not seeing one in here, but I do know you can order other tips from them, and you probably would want to get a micro USB tip and maybe even something for like an iPhone, but that is an added accessory. It does come with a case, so you can pop it in this leather case. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of with the case, so you can put it in here, and when you press this button here, it actually shows you the amount of battery life left. So these green dots indicate the battery life. This is great, but what's not so great is the fact that there's no kind of front pouch or anywhere to carry any of the little tips that you need. So it would have been nice if they would have made this into sort of a more multi-function kind of carrying case. Anyway, we'll pop it out of here. Now, I'll show you kind of the important part. Oh, I should also mention it comes with a little carrying bag for the tips. So it would have been nice if these two things would have been combined together somehow. Okay, enough about that. So here is the first interesting thing, is that this battery pack recharges, and I should mention, actually, I forgot the really important thing, is that it is a 50 watt-hour battery. So this little thing right here has 50 watt-hours worth of power, and 50 watt-hours is actually fairly sizable in terms of overall energy output. Now here's what's interesting. When you need to recharge it, you actually connect the Tekkeon MyPower to your laptop's AC adapter. So as an example, right here I have my Dell AC adapter that's for this Dell Vostro V13. And this is the end of it, okay? So this is what I would normally plug in to my V13 in order to recharge it. But when I put on this adapter tip here, I attach this here, and then I plug it into the DC in port on the MyPower, the Tekkeon battery here, and then it actually recharges the battery. So that's really important to understand. This battery does not recharge, via USB or anything like that. So you need to have the original. You need to have your laptop AC adapter in order to recharge this thing. Now, when you want to recharge your laptop, you connect it to this little port here. Oops, upside down. So once you connect it to here, Then you have this tip, and this tip is removable, and these are the various laptop adapter tips that they give you. These can be a little bit tricky sometimes, finding the right one. A lot of laptops are now standardized, Dell and HP, they use a lot of the same connectors, but if you have kind of a weird laptop that doesn't have the right kind of connector, you might be out of luck. Now, as far as I know, there is no adapter tip for Macs, so I don't think, well, there's definitely no MagSafe adapter tip, and Macs have always been a little bit weird, right, when it comes to charging, because Apple is a control freak of a company. Anyway, so here's the battery, right? I would simply plug it into the back of my laptop, and then boom, the laptop would be charging. Now, here's what's really interesting. Or actually, yeah, and I should clarify. This laptop will not charge when it's connected to this battery, okay? I think it has something to do with the circuitry, the power circuitry inside this Dell laptop, so I can only talk about this laptop. Your laptop may be slightly different, but here's what's intriguing. When the laptop is connected to this Tekkeon battery, it does not charge, but it instead acts as though it's connected to AC power, and it will use power from the Tekkeon battery rather than its own internal battery. So what that means is when you connect these two things, and both of them are fully charged, this laptop will draw power from this battery until this battery is dead, and then it will start to draw power from its own internal battery. So what that means is, essentially, it will draw down 50 watt hours of battery from this charger, or 50 watt hours of power from this battery. Then it will switch over to its own 30 watt hour battery internally. Now, why is this distinction important? Because if you have a laptop, and let's say you've only got 10% of battery life left, and you're like, I need an external battery, this thing is not going to charge it, at least with my particular Dell laptop here. This thing is only good when your laptop is fully charged. Okay, I think I've explained that properly. Now, again, I can only speak for this particular Dell laptop. Other laptops may be a little bit different. It may look at this external power source and say, hey, I'm actually going to recharge my batteries. But anyway, that's the way it worked for me. So let's talk a little bit more about the physical attributes of this particular battery. It's not light. It's about a pound. A pound doesn't sound very heavy, and indeed when you're holding it, it's like, hey, this is not too bad. But when you're traveling, you need to, basically factor in every pound that you're carrying. So it's really important to understand that if you're a traveler, you need to decide whether or not something like this is worth an extra pound. Now, in terms of size, it is 6.85 inches this way, 3.32 inches this way, and 0.89 inches this way. So it's just a little bit under an inch thick. So overall, it's fairly portable, but again, when you're carrying it and you put it in like a messenger bag or a shoulder bag, you're definitely going to feel the additional weight of an extra pound. It supports voltages from 10 volts to 19 volts, and you can see here right along the bottom, you actually can set the voltage, and this essentially you have to set the voltage for your laptop. I think for my Dell, in order to have it effectively see this as a power source, I think I had to knock it all the way up to 19 volts. And so that's something you're going to want to kind of check the spec sheets on your laptop on to make sure that it will actually work. The battery inside here, as I mentioned, it's 50 watt hours. It recharges in about 4 hours. So that's not too long, but it's also not super quick either. So basically, this is the kind of thing where, before you go on a trip or before you need it, you're going to want to make sure that this thing is fully charged, because if you think of charging it last minute, you're probably going to be out of luck. It comes with 9 adapter tips in total, including a mini USB and 6 adapter tips. So how does this thing actually work? What are the actual real world results of using this particular battery? Well, I tested it with the Dell Vostro V13. As I mentioned, the V13 has a 30 watt hour battery, and when testing it with this battery, I got basically double the runtime. So I was able to get about 3 to 4 hours off of this battery before it kicked over to this battery, where I got an additional 3 to 4 hours. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, if this is 50 watt hours, you should get nearly double the time, shouldn't you? Well, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into these types of batteries. I'm not an electrical engineer, but when you're converting energy or drawing energy off a battery, the efficiency of how you're able to draw the energy off the battery the efficiency really plays a big role. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. I did a more in-depth testing with my iPad 2, and this is where it was kind of a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you. What I did was I completely drained my iPad 2. It was totally flatlined, okay? This thing was fully charged. I turned it on, connected the USB adapter, and then I basically waited. And every hour or so, I would check the iPad 2 battery life, and it took 6 hours and 29 minutes in multiple tests. All my tests were within about 5 minutes of each other. So 6 hours and 29 minutes to fully recharge the battery in the iPad 2, okay? So the iPad 2 recharges from an AC wall adapter to 100% in, I seem to remember, it's about 2 to 3 hours. So this is definitely slower, but it's also a lot faster than USB 2, okay? So about 6.5 hours. Now here's the kind of disappointing part, right? This thing has 50 watt hours, as I mentioned. The iPad 2 battery is 25 watt hours. So theoretically, this thing should be able to recharge the iPad 2 battery once fully and then have roughly 50% battery life left and be able to recharge it again. Now, it wouldn't get a full charge because you never get 100% efficiency, but it should be able to do more than one full charge. Here's what's disappointing. When I did a full charge, I was down to one little bip of power. It used up, and yeah, that's a technical term, bip. It used up basically almost the entire battery inside this thing, recharging the iPad 2 battery. So that's an efficiency of like 50%, right? If you have a 50 watt hour battery and it uses up its own entire battery recharging a 25 watt hour battery, that's not terribly efficient. I contacted Tekkeon, and they sent me another unit, and I repeated this test 2 or 3 more times with the new unit, and I got the same results. So I have to say I'm kind of disappointed in that. I was hoping for something better. I don't know if there's something weird about how I'm testing this, or if maybe I got 2 batteries that weren't, totally efficient, but regardless, it is a little bit disappointing. Now, this battery retails for about $119 from Amazon. If you're a business traveler, or if you're someone that needs extra battery life, out in the field, I definitely think that this is a product worth considering, but you do kind of need to be aware that you're not really going to get a whole lot more than sort of one full charge out of this thing if you have something in the 25 to 30 watt hour range. If you have a laptop, for instance, that has an even bigger battery, like a 60 or 70 watt hour, you're not even going to get a full charge out of this. So you need to kind of keep that in mind. Now, I will say though that even though this battery isn't as efficient as I was hoping for, I really like the ability to charge it up, carry a couple of adapters, and be able to, power my laptop and recharge a phone or my Zune or an iPod Touch or an iPad 2. I really like the ability to be able to power multiple devices off of this, and I think that's really cool. Another thing that if you're really super battery hungry, you can actually connect a second battery over here. You can actually daisy chain multiple Tekkeon batteries together. So if you're out in the field, you're in the middle of a forest and you're a photographer and you want to schlep a few of these around, you can actually string several together and get a ton of extra power. So that is also worth considering. So this has been Jason Dunn from Laptop Thoughts, Apple Thoughts, and a whole bunch of different thoughts websites. This has been my review of the Tekkeon MyPower MP3750 R2. It's an interesting product that's definitely worth considering, but be aware that you're not going to get 100% efficiency or even anywhere close to 100% efficiency from this battery pack here. So I hope you've liked this video. Please post a comment. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please check out the ads in and around this video. That's how you support the work I do. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot for watching.